And so I think if people treated investing like that, they would do better. And they don't treat it like that. They treat it like a casino, and that's where it derails. That if you are financially stable, you can just be a more effective human being. If you give, you get back. And the game of money is those who can give the most will receive the most. And so most people don't get rich because they don't spend money. When you work hard and do well in an area, you place yourself in a stream of luck for the next opportunity. And I think that's what you have to understand about success is.
Welcome to Swift Coaches Academy, a podcast dedicated to bringing health and wellness professionals the uncensored truth behind what it really takes to succeed in the health industry with me, your host, Xenia Wood. As an accredited exercise physiologist and business owner for almost a decade, I'm on a mission to transform the lives of ambitious health professionals like you who want more and are ready to take action to create incredible impact in your careers and unlock financial freedom in your business. So join me as I speak candidly with industry leaders about the struggles and successes from within the trenches through thought-provoking conversations. Welcome. Today we have Lloyd Ross on the podcast. I'm so pumped for this. Lloyd is a guru when it comes to all things money mindset, investing in stocks. He's got 2 books at the moment with a third on the way. I love the titles there. Money Grows on Trees, Money Buys Happiness, and I don't know if we can say the third book title, but yeah, okay, got the nod. I got the nod. Time Rich being the third title. So welcome, Lloyd. Thank you for joining me today.
Hey, what's up, Zen? Thanks for having me on the show. Super excited to be here. Yeah, let's get stuck into it and give some value.
Love it. Love it. So just for reference, you and I first met through Morgan Nelson at Dreamfest late last year, I believe.
Yep.
And then I was investing a little bit in stocks, and I thought, hey, if I'm putting a fair amount of cash into this, I should probably realize or learn what the frick I'm doing with it. So that's when I joined your program to learn about investing in stocks and help all that stuff that feels so foreign and complex to me make a ton more sense, which was epic. Then we did the Mind and Money accelerated 3-day intensive, and just, I think, blown up from there, strength to strength. I did the Millionaire One Day thing that you guys put on.
Millionaire Immersion Day at Versace Hotel with us. Yeah,
that was sick.
Fun.
That was a cool day. I had a lot of fun that day. Yeah,
we've done a lot together now. So yeah, you've been through a few things, and how's it been going? Like, did you enjoy all that?
Yeah, I honestly, I think just getting clarity on, like, if I'm going to invest in something, knowing that the biggest investment is investment in you and your knowledge, and then obviously what to how to deploy your actual cash. That was something that was really helpful for me. I actually last year, one of my goals was to acquire a third property, and after going through your course, I was like, you know what, actually, I'd prefer to not do that. So I realized, I could deploy it in a way that it's, I guess, a little bit more liquid in terms of still being accessible to me. And I think, part of that you imparted onto me in terms of why potentially investing in a house isn't always the best option. So maybe we start there. Your thoughts on what sort of investments are good financially and what you believe.
Well, okay. Well, just as a caveat, I don't want to give any financial advice, so it's all just generic and for examples, right? So we don't want anyone to rush off and do something because we say so. So that's called financial dependence, and we don't want to create any financial dependence. We want to create financial independence, which starts with kind of the education experience you've been through, which is really where a lot of people what I've noticed over the years is that people lack confidence to make financial decisions. Obviously with their money, but obviously with their investments too, and they see clarity. And the reason why there's no clarity is because there's a lack of education of some of the basic principles of deploying capital to grow the capital. And so the easiest investment to understand is housing. And the reason for that is because we spend all of our lives in a house and we kind of understand how it works. You buy bricks and you buy shelter, you put someone in there, they pay you rent, the end. Like, it's such a simple concept. And so that's why property is such a popular option for investing, because people in Australia, particularly all over the world, but in Australia specifically, it's like the biggest retirement asset people have as well. So we're all very property mad here in Australia. But, in Australia, you can buy a house and it goes up in value. And if you have a tenant in there, it produces income. So, it's bricks and mortar. You can get a lot of leverage from it. It's a wonderful asset. But if you're an entrepreneur and you have this business that's cash hungry and needs money sometimes quickly to pivot and do different things, sometimes it's difficult to have all your money tied up in equity because you got to go to the bank and get a 3-week finance approval process to access it. So there are different methods by which you can deploy capital. I think you can have a share portfolio that you understand. Maybe indexing is a good idea. Perhaps a term deposit, depending on what your risk profile is like. But there are other options out there besides just buying a property. So as an entrepreneur, I think it's important to explore those options because we sometimes need access to our money faster than a month, so
Or like you have a house and then you have to go and sell it and then you have to hope
yeah.
that it sells and
Yeah,
or yeah.
totally. Yeah, very illiquid to buy and sell houses. And also the transaction costs are very high. So like this, when you buy a house, there's stamp duty to pay and there's lawyer fees and there's transaction costs and it's not smooth, it's clunky and it's slow. And if you're in business, you just don't need clunky and slow. You need fast. And so like my own personal funds, our personal funds are all invested in public companies, stocks or index funds. And whereas a business owner, I feel so much more confident in business knowing that I can put my hands on a 7-figure number at the click of a button.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so how did you get into your investing journey? We've got 5 million different pieces of paper on the wall that says that you've done every degree under the sun.
Yeah.
Um,
Misspent youth. Yeah, look, you don't learn this stuff at university, sadly. I think that you should, but you don't. And the reason is no one teaches it very well, frankly. So I went on a self-learning experience. I did formal. I'm a lawyer by profession. Like I got a law degree, became a lawyer. I did business, MBA level business at one of the best business schools in the country, but I didn't really learn a lot about it. But it introduced me to a bit of corporate finance and accounting and stuff. So it's like, oh, I'm not so good at this. Maybe I should get better. And I realized a lot of people out there who were the wealthiest, probably some of the best decision makers, very important people to have in meetings, were people that understood numbers. So it's like, if it's a weak area, maybe I should throw myself in there to get good at it so I can be a bit more indispensable. And so that's what I decided to do. I didn't have an affiliation for numbers, but I enjoyed what money could do and I thought, well, I should probably work on those weaknesses. So I threw myself into what's called the CFA charter, which is the hardest financial qualification in the world. And it's more sought after often than an MBA. And it's a 3 exam degree. It's only offered by the CFA Institute, and it's 6-hour closed book exams on corporate finance, equities, bonds, fixed income, derivatives, alternative investments, financial statement analysis, and business analysis, and statistics, and all that fun stuff. So you got to study for 20 hours a week for 6 months, do the first exam, 6 hours, closed book, and the pass rate's 30%. And if you get past that, which took me 3 years to get past level one, then you got to do level two. I passed that first go. Thankfully, it's another 6-hour closed book exam. And if you fail, this is the trick to it. If you fail, you got to wait a year.
oof.
That sucks. And so I'm now on the third level. And once I complete that, I'll have my CFA charter. So that's my formal financial education. But you can see above me here all these books, right?
Mm.
They're mostly investing and money books up there. And so my real investing journey began when I picked up a book called The Snowball in an airport once in 2008 after the GFC. And it was all about Warren Buffett's personal life. And I read that book and I was just addicted immediately to it. I was like, far out. I get this. I just understood value investing, buying public companies for less than what they're worth. It made so much sense to me. So that's what I decided, what? I was in Dubai at the time, living there, working on a big projects, and I thought, I don't want to buy a property here. I don't want to lock myself up into debt. I wanted options, I wanted flexibility, and I noticed that a lot of people had mortgages, felt like they were anchored down and stuck, and I didn't want to be that. So I thought, you know what? I should probably get good at finding stocks to pick, or, companies to invest in, which is what stocks are. And that is what led me to read all those books. And I read, The Intelligent Investor 3 times. I just became a student of it over time, and I started deploying my first bit of capital into shares when I was 23. Bought a bit of Westpac Bank, just getting my feet wet, and then over time we built up a multi-million dollar portfolio. And so it's been a long road of learning, and I continue to learn, but I feel like I've got a good handle on it now, and it's a very, very rare space to be good at, particularly in Australia. So I like that journey I went on, and now it's nice to teach others these principles and educate.
I love that. And I just wanted to, you talk a little quickly, which is fine, but I just wanted to reinforce. I got it, but just to clarify, stocks is actually just investing in companies, just to like get
Yeah.
really clear with it. And I think, like you said, when you understand businesses and you understand how you can put in $1 and take out $2, then it makes so much sense. And I've seen that in my business growth, and like, fuck, we have programs, each of us, that are 4 or 5 figures, very low, like low for the ROI financially that you get back from it. They're like, you're getting 3 to 10x return on this stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know many stocks that that you're going to get that within a year, but when you have more control over the business,
Yeah.
and you can, or even just investing in yourself, you are the one who's going to impact that.
Well, yeah, I think it's like taking it back to a granular level. When you start out in business, you are the business, and it takes a lot of hustle and effort and energy from you and your expertise and skills and time to make money. And so that was what compelled me to get into business, because I wanted to buy more stocks, but I realized my income was capped in my job. So I was like, well, this is not going to work. It's capped, and I got to wait all these years to get a pay. I want to buy more stocks now. So that's what actually compelled me to get into business and get different skills in the area of marketing and sales and those things, is so I could build a business that produced more income than what I was making. And then I was like, okay, now I have more money. I want to be able to deploy that and buy pieces of businesses that are super successful. And so if you think about stock picking as a process, it's not really about stock picking. You do better at stock picking if you don't think you're picking stocks. That's not a good term. It's more like, what businesses out there that I wish I owned in their entirety. And some of the names that might come to mind are like, oh, I wish I owned Google. I wish I owned Apple. God, Apple just tied up with ChatGPT to do this. Well, I wish I owned it. Well, guess what? When the market opens to in the United States, you can take your money and you can own a piece of Apple. And you become an owner of that business through public equities, which is the stock market. And so I think if people treated investing like that, they would do better. And they don't treat it like that. They treat it like a casino, and that's where it derails.
Yes, they treat it like the dreaded cryptocurrency that I don't know if
Yeah.
that's like a hush word around you anymore.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I still have battles of people. I think Morgs did a real. I was on his podcast, and he talked to me about that. And there's a flood of comments under it with people coming to defend it, which happens when you're defending something that only rises with more demand from a greater fool than the person that bought it. You always get vehement defendant. Like, you'll get people defend that asset class because they need people to buy it for it to go up in value. And the same thing happened with Beanie Babies and other Ponzi like investments like that.
Mm.
Yeah. So it's not a good. I like the whole blockchain and DeFi. I like the block tokenization of assets makes sense. I like that. I think open ledger accounting. I think the banking industry the whole industry will shift in terms of finance. I like the whole structure of the currency. Don't get me wrong, but that's what not people aren't treating it like a currency. They're treating it like a
Like an asset,
fast
but
asset.
it's
Yes.
it's 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 thin air.
Yes, it's not. Currencies aren't supposed to be assets. They're supposed to enable bar very easy barter of goods and services. That's what currencies are designed for. So it's either a currency or it's an asset. But what happens with crypto is that people are creating the ideology of the currency, which is great. I think it's wonderful. But they're actually doing that to inflate it to actually make fiat currency to buy Lamborghinis to look good in front of people. That's kind of what they're doing. And if they're not saying they're not doing that, then they're probably lying.
Or they're not making money in crypto.
Well, yeah, and one of the questions to ask folks as well is when I kind of engage in those types of debates, is I'll say to them, look, okay, you're debating here, which is fine. Obviously, your position, I'll listen to it, and I'll then ask them, how much have you got invested in it? And the answer is like, oh, 50 grand or 10 grand or nothing or $1,000. And the question you got to ask yourself is, if you well, the statement you have to make to yourself is, if you can't deploy $1 million into something with confidence and sleep at night, then it's not really a good solid investment and you don't understand it. And that's why I rarely meet people that right now would put $1 million or even have $1 million to put in crypto. It's not the type of people I talk to often. If you had all your net worth in crypto, then I'd probably listen a lot more intently. But I haven't met anyone that's done that. So
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. So investing in you, yourself, your own learning, investing in stocks. Um, so I guess there's a couple of things I wanted to talk to you about today, because I think where I'm coming from, the audience that I have, we're health business owners, right? And I get a lot of like hesitance or reluctance when, in terms of money mindset, when they're talking about like increasing prices, or like if I said to double your prices, like that would just be, you know, oh my God, unheard of. And I think the thing that comes up a lot is that, well, it's unethical because we're trying to sell someone health. Do you have any thoughts around that?
Well, yes, I have many thoughts around it. Um, it's interesting because I understand the mindset, by the way, the paradigm that people are in with, I don't want to charge more, because we're all compelled as good people with good intentions to want to over deliver on our promise. So the more you charge, the more you have to deliver. And I think the apprehension is like, how am I going to deliver the value that's 10x that? How am I going to do that? And where the wheels come off it for people is if they feel like they can't do that confidently, then typically their offer is wrong or their audience is wrong, or it doesn't match up. So for example, if you're a health coach and you have an offer to it could fall in the wrong audience, or it doesn't lend itself to the right audience, or the offer is just not valuable enough, in which case you can actually add more value to your offer, which then dictates a higher price. So, for example, if you're a health professional or coach and you have an offer for, say, $1,000, and that engages you as a coach for a few sessions, and then they get a list of things, they get some advice. That's all good. Accountability is great. But then what if you did a retreat as part of that value to connect people and bring people together who are on the same journey as you? Would that be valuable for people to get around you and be in person with you? And the answer would probably be yes. People are striving to be in close contact with their health coach and they want to meet other people. So what if you added $3,000 to your offer, put the retreat on there, and all of a sudden you've got a $5,000 offer, and because there's more value to the person being delivered. So if you're struggling with pricing, it's because your value is not valuable enough yet, and you can add things to it to make it more valuable. But also, you're not really selling health, you're selling problem solving. You're solving health challenges. And so the greater the challenge, which is the audience as well, the greater the monetary value that you can create from that. So like, for example, recently myself personally, I went through a process where I had this, what's called leaky gut. You ever heard of that?
Yeah. It's not my
Where,
area, not nutrition, but
sure,
yes, have
sure.
heard.
But like, I went through and I'm doing all the research myself and I'm thinking blah, blah, blah. And so I'm understanding a gut health journey because I had some antibiotics. Obviously my gut flora just got out of kilter. And so I'm thinking, what's going on here? And I got appendicitis. It was bad. I was like, what the heck? And so beyond that experience I had, I was in pain, as in like I was actually in pain. And so if you talk to someone like me at that stage and you had an offer for X amount of thousands, and you could guarantee me with a nice gut restoration program over a 4-week period, I would have paid thousands of dollars for that because I was literally in pain. You're a gut health expert because you've been through it yourself. And now I'm open and willing. I'm going to pay because I'm literally in pain. So your offer will be, if you can craft an offer where people want to buy it, that's one thing. But if you craft one where people need to buy it, that's another. And if you craft an offer to a business owner who's doing quite well, who needs their health because it's very, very valuable to their time, then you're going to be able to charge more. So it depends on the level of pain that the client's in, and it depends on the type of audience they are, and also depends on the actual details of your offer. And if all those things stack up, then you could charge, like if someone said, Lloyd, just give me $5,000 and I'll fix that within 4 weeks, just follow this, I probably would have paid it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. It's
and
the value exchange.
of course. And if you did that to say someone like Alex Hormozy, he'd be like, hell yeah, here's $50,000. Just fix me now. Like, or get me around the world's leading scientist for $100,000. I'll pay. Like the audience matters, But most health coaches are probably selling to the wrong people who are broke. And of course, you can't charge more if you're selling to broke people.
Yeah. And I guess not that they're the wrong people, but I think there are other avenues and ways that we can help people who are maybe not financially able to afford to solve some of these problems, right? Like, because you can solve for the masses, or, like, because I know there's going to be some people who are like, yeah, but, even if people don't have money, they're going to, and we've got different strokes for different folks, and
Well,
that's
yeah,
totally
you have the
cool.
rescuers. All the rescuers want to rescue everyone, and I get it. It's just that, like, I'll give you a perfect example. My wife, there's an app called Porsche, and she's registered on there. Now, she's a marketer. She understands marketing well and servicing clients, and she wanted to be, she's good at premium offers. And so you decide, you don't, you decide who you serve. And so
Yeah.
you can be a martyr and serve for free and rescue everybody, and that's okay, but you're probably not going to wind up with a lot of money necessarily, and it's going to be challenging. Or you can position yourself as more of a premium or a mid-tier offer. So what happened to her was she crafted this offer on Porsche, and she added all these cool things to the offer, and everyone else was charging $30 a night, and she comes in there and just charges 100 and just dominates because she was addressing the audience of people who wanted that other offer. So you get to decide who you serve, and you can serve people who are wealthier and people who have less money, who have the same physical problem. You can't serve everyone with the same problem. You can try. So you get
Mm.
to decide who you serve. And I think it's just a matter of, and Alex Hormozy talks about this a lot. Like, you want to get richer, serve rich people. So I think it's just a lesson. You decide who you want to serve for your reasons and be okay with what they can pay for the problem you can help them solve.
And I also think that, like, when you can't serve yourself financially, then you really can't serve other people financially, right? Like, I remember when I had a client who was working with me for a couple months, and then, like, he lost his job and all these other things happened. And because I was financially okay, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna do this on the house for you. Like, you really fucking need this. You already have been paying me for it. I see how valuable this is to you. And you've obviously shown me the value. You've given me some money before. And so I guess being able to serve from a place of, like, abundance, rather than I don't have much, but I'm also going to pour out of my empty cup to everyone else, I think is a real challenging
Yeah,
approach.
it definitely gives you more space to serve people, to give them results before they pay you if you don't need the money, of course. So it does put you in a position to be giving, which is obviously a lot of reciprocity influence, and helping people solve their problems before they pay you is fine too. But it definitely allows you to do that. Like, I've sold, even this last 7 days, I've helped people without talking about money, and they've walked away and paid me thousands of dollars after that. So, but I wasn't intentionally looking for that. It's just I enjoyed the people. I could help them solve problems. I went about doing it, and then they pay. And the only reason I could do that is because I have the time. And the only reason I have the time is because I have the money. And so you are 100% correct that if you are financially stable, you can, of course, be you can just be a more effective human being. Like, people who are financially stable are going to, like, not lose their temper in the coffee line, or not beep you at the lights, or, like, they're not in a hurry. And so if you're not in a hurry because you're financially stable, then of course you're going to be a more effective person
Hmm.
and coach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
So,
Um, I wanted to talk to you about, I listened to one of your podcasts, and it was a fucking phenomenal story about, I think you were in Mexico,
oh
and you
yeah.
were talking, do you remember when you gave the woman $20? Do
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Can you tell that story? Because I love the concept of, like, business is like playing money games. And when I went to your Mind of Money, we played money games, and just the concept of, businesses making money and money games and reciprocity. So without going too much into it, can I get you to explain sort of what happened, and how
Yeah.
you use that?
Yeah, it's very interesting. My brother-in-law actually sent us a reel once with a guy that was testing this out, where he'd take $20, check into a hotel, and he would just slip $20 cash over the counter at the front without saying a word as he handed his passport and credit card over. And that's the game. And you see what happens. And so you get to experience or deploy what's called reciprocity influence. And in this book by Robert Cialdini, who's the world leading expert in influence and persuasion, he talks about in this book the 6 weapons of influence. And one of the weapons is reciprocity influence. And it's like, the more you give, the more you get. And it's a wonderful, fun game to play. And anyone can play it. So if you go and check into a hotel, this is what you can do. This is what we did, and this is what happened. We experimented, and so we went to Cabo. Ah, sorry, not Cabo. We went into What's the other one on the eastern side?
Oh,
Cancun. We went to
yes.
Cancun. We're checking in. My wife and I checking in this big hotel, a sick hotel. And we're like, oh, let's do the thing. Let's see if this works. Let's see what happens if we just slide over $20. So we walk up there, and my wife's really good at like small talk and building rapport quickly, which is part of influence. It's called likability. That's one of the other weapons. So she comes in, there's a female there, and we're chatting with her, and my wife's chit-chatting, and we're talking about Australia. She had a tattoo of blue on her leg, and we knew the name of her partner who was at the hotel, and we just built this quick rapport with her. So we had likability, which is one of the weapons. Then I slipped over the $20 note with the credit card and said, "That's your." I couldn't leave my mouth shut. I said, "That's yours." She goes, "Oh, thank you," and she picked it up. But what's interesting is we didn't know what was going to happen, and she's booking us in. We're like, "Oh, she didn't. Nothing's going to happen." So she booked us in. She gave us the room, and then before she said goodbye, she said, "Oh, I have something special for you." And we're like, oh shit, it worked. We gave her $20 and see what she's going to do for us. She said, look, I've actually upgraded you to the king suite with dual beds with a spa that overlooks the ocean. I was like, oh. She goes, that's an upgrade that you get. It's on the house. And so that's cool. So we actually, by giving $20, we created $200 worth of value instantly with the upgrade. But then it didn't stop. So this is part of the game. So I'm like, hey, we started the game, and she decided to play the game. So now we're locked in this game. And so I said, well, the game's not over. So I said, look, you've been so amazing. Would it be okay if I got your manager's email address so I can write them a review as to how amazing you've been? So if you think about recognition, you don't get a lot of recognition. Women cry for it, men die for it. So if you can provide someone recognition, it's a huge value proposition. So I didn't give her any more money, but I said, what I can do for you is tell your manager how great you are. She said, oh my God, yes. She gave her the card. I said, great, I'll write a review today. I'll send it to the email. Thank you so much. She goes, oh, before you go. So I've given that. I haven't even done it yet, but I gave it, and we're playing the game. And so she's playing back, and she says, by the way, before you go, I'm going to give you access to the adults only VIP fine dining experience on the house. She gave us this card. So then so now we've probably got a total of $300 in value. It's probably worth $100, right? So she gives us $300 worth of value. And all that's happened at this point is I've given her $20. So we've created $300 worth of value from a $20 exchange. So at this moment in time, I gave 20, I've received 300. So I've imparted to her with a $20 bill and recognition to her manager. I've given her $300 worth of value to her. And so that's why she's paid me back in that amount. So the law of reciprocity will balance the scales that people play in the game. Now, if you do this and people don't balance the reciprocity scales, they don't know how to play, or their reciprocity scales are broken. And they're the types of people you don't want to be around, because they're the types of people that drain your energy, right? So anyway, we go upstairs. I jumped into ChatGPT, got a name, and I asked ChatGPT, please write a review for Tina about blah, 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 blah. And 2 seconds, actually my wife decided to do that because she's cleverer than me. So she gave it to me. I emailed it. And then she got it. And then the next day we came up, there was a little cake in a heart-shaped cake with a champagne bottle. And I was like, wow, the game's still going. So she's still playing the game. And then the next day we come in the hotel, and there's like a nice swan with the towel and hey, congratulations on we thought it was our first honeymoon in Cancun, which
Love that.
So
I do that all the time, actually. I go to
Yeah.
restaurants and I'm like, it's our anniversary.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
of what?
if you say if it's our anniversary for the first time here, it's not a fictitious lie. So I said it's our first honeymoon in Cancun. So that kept going. So that game was being played, and I think it was just such a great example of, if you give, you get back. And the game of money is those who can give the most will receive the most. And so most people don't get rich because they don't spend money. They don't
Fear
give
of
stuff.
holding on to it.
Yeah, they're just
Or losing it, rather.
Yeah, they're like, I'm afraid of losing it. I don't want to give. I don't. Well, they give with just absolute intention to receive, and it's just there's just no fluidness and surrender to just playing the game. And so, but we tried it again in the Sheraton in Orlando when we went to the ClickFunnels event, and the lady took the money and pocketed it and didn't do anything. So be aware that if you play these games, that some people won't want to play. And that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and totally. And then you get a great story out of it. You're still, what, $260 up?
Yeah, we're still up. And I've given that wisdom to people through the podcast and now your podcast. So hopefully this lesson is now me giving more value about what you can try and do. And I'm sure it's going to translate to lots of cool upgrades in hotels and different ideas and experiences that people listen to this. So it continues.
Yeah.
The game's
I
going
love
on.
that. I think, in business, the law of reciprocity is so huge, and it's it's massive in networking, building relationships, and just gives so much value that you feel indebted. It's like Hormozi has given all his courses away for free. And so when he put a book out for $29 or whatever, even though the shipping was $80 to Australia or whatever it was, people are like, oh my God, it was worth thousands. Of course, I'm
Yeah,
going to buy
yeah,
10 of
yeah,
the
yeah.
books.
Yeah, he's banking on, the weapon of reciprocity. So there are 6 weapons of influence you want to get good at. One is reciprocity, one is likability, one is authority, one is consistency, one is social proof, which is like if they're doing it, I'll do it. And the other one is scarcity or urgency. So they're the 6 weapons of influence. Now, if you think about your podcast, the weapons of influence it's wielding are authority, reciprocity, because you're giving value for free on this. The third thing is consistency, because I no doubt you've got consistent episodes dropping. So people are building trust with you because of your consistency. And there's likability because they're getting to know you and other people. So there's 4 things you've nailed. And if you've got many 5-star reviews on your show, that's social proof, that's 5. And then the other one is urgency, where we can't really use that in this example, but there's 5 out of the 6 that you're using already on this podcast. So you're already signaling, you're already influencing the market.
So everyone should start a podcast. No.
Well, it's just
but
one
like
method.
add value.
Yeah, it's one method of value creation it's one distribution channel of those things. So if you think about social media, podcasting, in-person events, that there's so many things you can do to wield those weapons of influence that you'll actually have people lean in and trust you. And that's who you do business with.
Yeah, I love that.
That's
Speaking
fun.
of business, I would love to talk to like obviously you nerd out on stocks, and then you effectively have created like an online course and coaching business on the back of that. I obviously do that too in the business coaching space, exercise education. But you have a little plaque on your wall that says that you've done far better than I have so far. Yeah. So
Yeah, that's cool.
that's a 2 comma club? Is that
Yeah, it's a 2
award?
Comma Club award. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Russell
that
Brunson.
means that it's 7 figures through a funnel to get people into, I think it starts with your book and then they work their way into your courses and your programs, right?
So my background is that like I basically pivoted and rescued with my dad our property business over a 7-year period, which was like a baptism of fire in business. I've worked on many large scale projects, and as I said, I'm a lawyer, so I come with and I'm a licensed real estate agent, done real estate transactions, run the business for 7 years doing that. And then I built a 7-figure network marketing business and became one of the best in the world in the company at that with my wife at a young age. So we actually succeeded in 2 whole businesses in a big way. And I also had the $1 million portfolio that I built in the background. And I achieved all that in my 30s. So I had this story of like, I've done all these things. And so I could actually then teach people how to launch a business for $500 and scale it to $1 million because I've done it. And then I could teach them, these are the fundamentals and education principles of investing, right? Not to tell them what to do, but to teach them how to teach themselves what is effective and not, because I'd done it. So I'd walked these paths. And so because I'd walked those paths, I was encouraged by a good friend of mine to write a book about those lessons. And so we launched a book called Money Grows on Trees, which is my first book. And then I had a little course attached to it about basic money lessons, which I think, I could tell I was being signaled by the marketplace that I needed to do it, because in our network marketing, success, I met many multimillionaires who didn't have any money left. And so across the board, I realized that other people struggle with money. And I was like, I was like, really? People don't know this? I thought it was common sense. And so that's what showed me there was demand. So when we wrote the book and did a course, we launched it to have an automated little, content business going with book and course. But then we realized that to scale up and help more people, they wanted, I shouldn't say needed, they wanted more hands-on approach. So I decided to start like a financial education and coaching business, which really looks at people's handling of their money and money mindset. And we launched that 3 years ago. And yeah, it's been super successful. We've got, hundreds of students in that. And it's so much fun to see them grow and develop. And then off the back of that, with Morgan, we collaborated to create the Mind and Money Summit and Accelerator events that we run each year. We run 3 or 4 of them, effectively 4 events a year. And so that's another good little business, to help people have that breakthrough experience. Like you came to that, right? That breakthrough experience at the event.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, we're also acquiring businesses right now. So I just made our first acquisition. So we're acquiring existing businesses, purchasing pieces of public companies. I'm got a coaching education business, still got the network marketing business, still doing really well. So all those are I'm running all at once. And so I think all of those skills and all the experience I get to impart to my students, and that's kind of what they want, right? Because they want to create a lifestyle of more independence and choice, and I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah. So with that, like, what do you think are the key principles or like habits that have led to your wealth as a business owner, as an entrepreneur?
Well, I think that you have to have this desire to want to be skilled in marketing and sales and business. Some people aren't built for it. I just always wanted to because I saw my dad. He was, one of the most successful people I knew. And so I was like, well, why wouldn't I want to do that? And so I thought, how do I get the skills? So you have to be committed to skill building. And I think that's what was great about working in that property business with him is I was able to, get in close proximity to what success demands from you. And so what it
Mm.
demands from you is that, in that business I was working 6 days a week. And we would go and see clients on Saturdays and run them in the car and sign contracts and we would use a diary and we'd book appointments and we'd do outreach and all the skill. I learned so much there. And so I like, oh, that's how you build success, doing all the stuff that people don't want to do. So I read this quote the other day that, your first business doesn't make you rich, but it's where you get good. And so I got really good in the property business. And then our second business, our network marketing business, we got rich and good. We got richer. It allowed us to build a recurring income stream that allowed us to I stepped out of the property business and then I had complete time freedom. And that was like where we got somewhat rich and better. We got really good. And then from there, we were able to go to the next opportunity. So every opportunity opens up another one. But if you don't approach the opportunity you're in with vigor and high standards and commitment and focus, then you don't succeed at it, which means if you don't succeed at that one, you're very unlikely to get to the next one. And I've got to tell you, like the reason we were in Cancun at that place is because we won that trip with that company in our network marketing. And the reason we were going there as well is because we were jumping on go to the ClickFunnels event because we had success in our education business. And so it, success in one thing will open up doors in the other. And my dad's business partner from many years ago, he said, that's like placing yourself in the luck stream. And I was like, the luck stream? He says, yes, because when you work hard and do well in an area, you place yourself in a stream of luck for the next opportunity. And I think that's what you have to understand about success is it's not usually fast. It's one, it's an apprenticeship, then into a money-making experience, and then into real wealth creation. It's not the other way around, even though social media will make you think that.
I like that. I like that in terms of, you said the desire to be skilled in, I guess, business if you want to get good at business and also good at your technical skill, be able to over deliver, like you mentioned before, committed to that skill building. And then you also mentioned like getting close to people who are successful or are where you want to be, I think,
Yeah.
is
Yes.
another huge thing. I noticed
Yes.
that I had a mentee of mine literally yesterday, and she was like, "Oh, like I've had other people tell me that I shouldn't, like I'm too early yet. I shouldn't split my business accounts and my personal accounts. Like I'm still a stall trader." And I'm like, "Whose opinions are you listening to?" Like I'm just curious, like who are these people who are saying it? And well-intentioned, but like people who, you know, did have their own businesses, but I was like, but do they have a health business? Are they a bit like, are they a business coach? Have they created, like, I guess it can get confusing with different opinions, but if you can, I guess, look at it from the lens of the opinions of the people who are where I want to be,
Yeah, of
is the
course.
opinions that I should be listening
Yeah,
to.
of course. And you know what? I've been around people like that who have been massively successful, and I've paid to be around people like that and massively successful. But I also don't take everything from them. So like I'll decide what I want to keep based on my values. and I'll let
Yeah.
them keep what they want to keep based on theirs. So you don't mimic them. You take what you need from them and you respect them, and you don't outshine the master. You just keep them as a good, they'll serve you, you serve them. There's a period, it's give and take, and you don't have to take everything from them.
Yeah.
Take what you need, take what you need.
Totally. Yeah. I also looked at that with this student of mine, and I was like, cool, what are the pros and what are the cons of this? Like, why are we making this a big deal? I'm like, pros are you're gonna have to do it at some point if you want to take your business out of side hustle mode.
Yeah.
Cons are it's gonna take you like 15 fucking minutes and cost you $0. I was like, there's no real cons. Like,
Yeah.
just like this conversation is just taking longer than like people
I'll,
weigh up
yeah.
decisions for so long that are not life impacting.
I think that definitely is true. And I think what happens is it's always a faith step. It's weird. But when we were scaling our network marketing business, I had the decision to make, do we set up a trust and incorporate? And it was like, well, far out, we've just made like 80 or 100 grand. Maybe we should. Is it, are we making another? And I thought, what message am I sending to the universe? Like, what message am I sending out there if I'm saying no? Because if you're saying no, you're saying, well, I'm not going to scale beyond 100. And so I was like, well, no, the message I want to make is we're going to go to the top. So like, yes, I'm going to incorporate, I'm going to get a trust. I'm going to make sure we protect our assets. So it's a faith step to always go towards scale. Like scaling is not always good, but like we wanted to scale up beyond 100,000. So we prepared our business for that. And same as our education business and coaching business, like it's been set up for scale. That's why we have that award, because we didn't set it up for, when we first set it up, it wasn't for scale. It was for making sure we could deliver our offer. But over time, we realized if we didn't set it for scale, it would hit a ceiling, and it did. And you should, if on our comp plan on our Stripe account, you look at it where we're stuck in a pattern because I'm the bottleneck in the business. And so
Mm,
when you recognize it, you have to step out of it, have a faith step towards the unknown, put things in place so it can scale beyond your time. And it's always a faith step. You never know what's going to happen, but I can tell you what's going to happen if you don't take the faith step and open up is you're going to stay scarce. You're going to stay low. And it's not wrong. It's just not a fun adventure because it gets boring.
yeah.
It gets boring.
I feel like sometimes there's elements of that in what I'm doing, and I'm like, fuck, like these are things that are keeping me stuck, or like I'm just nervous to take that big leap because what if it doesn't work out, you
Well,
know?
I know, and I know the feeling. It's just that what's you have to weigh it up. What's the cost if you don't do it?
Yeah. Honestly, I'd probably prefer to lose the money than lose like my faith in myself.
But you've got to remember too that if you're a coach and you're going through first time experiences, whether you win at it or you get kicked in the ass with it, either way, it's a learning experience you can help others with to either avoid the pothole or jump over it. Like
Yeah.
so every experience, whether good or bad, is valuable, even though it doesn't feel like it at the time. So I
Yeah.
always think about that. I'm like, you know what? If I go to this and I fall flat on my face, at least I can know the lesson. So when I do it again, I can get around it, or I can help someone else to avoid the holes.
Yeah. I think that's so true. I went to an event, and this just comes back to like creating opportunities and being in the luck stream, I guess.
Yep.
One of my old students of mine, she has ended up doing some coaching for health business owners as well, and she was running this event, and she was like, does anyone want the final spot on our panel? And I was like, me. And she was like, oh, sorry, it's already been taken. I was like, well, make more room because I'm coming down. I was just like, I'm coming. Like this
Yeah.
is, I just like almost didn't give her the option. I was like, just make more space. And so she did, which was awesome. And then in this event that she put on, like great event, like really, really warm audience, exactly the people that I want to be working with. But she was shit scared to do it. And she also lost $1,000 by putting that event on. But like that step for her is a step in the right direction, exactly like you said, like the next one will be better, the next one will be break even or profitable,
Yes.
and then
Oh
it
yeah.
goes from there.
Yeah, yeah. 100%. There's a price to play. There's a
Yeah.
price of success, and few people are prepared to pay the price of success. And it's not always an outlay of cash. It's sometimes an outlay of your time and effort. And you're like, oh God, that went nowhere for like 2 years. But it didn't. It prepared you for the day where it happened. Because you wouldn't be able to do that thing on that day unless you went through that crap. So part of the
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
It's a
I
cruel world
love
we live in.
that. But I mean, we play money games.
Yeah. Well, you play games in general, right? Games are fun, and of course we're all playing it for the money game because money gives you choice and power and freedom, and they're the wonderful things.
I brought this. I have like 4 cups in my office at the moment, but I brought this cup for
Hey, look at
today.
that. Make money great again. Come on.
Yeah.
Hey, it's one of my cups.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that, and I bring it out when I need to bring a little bit more money into my life. When I'm
Nice.
talking
There
to
you
you.
go. Yeah, come
So,
on. No
yeah,
good.
and I still actually I the little keychain with the dollar symbol on it that lives. I don't have anything else on my keychain except for that. And
Yes. That's
then,
cool. So it's like I'm kind of around you a little going, hey, Zenny, are you gonna be good today with your money? You're gonna be
yeah,
like it's a
it's
nice
it's
little
like it's like you know how people sometimes have that like the is it the jade tree or whatever, the money tree, money goes
Yeah,
in,
we
money
have a
goes
money tree
out.
here. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's just my little reminder that because I think, and sometimes I've actually caught myself with this cup being like, oh fuck, I'm about to get on a sales call with a client. I probably shouldn't like show the front of this cup being like, hey, like signaling that I'm gonna,
Yeah. Yeah,
like
yeah,
about
yeah,
to
yeah.
get an
I
exchange of
know.
money.
I
But
know.
I do think that like that in itself is also potentially like a little bit of a money mindset block for me, being like, well, therefore am I like money is bad, or like do other people perceive it as that? Um,
they may because you may. It depends where. It's hard to determine. I often think that people don't recognize things like you think they do, because they're not you and they're seeing different things. But yeah, I've experienced. Look, we all experience money blocks. If I had all my money blocks sorted out, I mean, I would have been a lot further along a lot faster because we have to go through, like when you engage a mentor, they say, "What do you mean you're still doing this? Well, you just don't do that." They're like, "Well, so when you're in the new mindset, it's easier to watch someone who's not in it and say, what, you're a crazy person for not doing that because it's easy for you because you've unlocked it. But your
mm,
brain needs time to unlock it, and you need to go through like little, like is it the Suez Canal? What's the canal that goes through this middle of America? Is it the Suez Canal? Anyway, it fills up, it's got locks in it, and it fills up, and you can break through the Central America, right? And like boats go through there. So that particular river, it's not one thing of water, it's like a lock and it fills up with water. Then they go to the next one. Then they go to the next, and then on the other side. So when you're trying to break through a paradigm, it's not like, oh, I had a breakthrough. It's little micro breakthroughs. Your brain and synapses are trying to figure it out, and then bang. And I see this, I've learned a lot about human behavior from training our dog at puppy school, just watching their brains think, oh, I'm confused. And then, oh, I got it. And then the next like two, they get it. And we're the same. We just don't think we are. We just have high expectations on ourselves to learn instantly, and we're not like that. So you have
mm,
to give yourself grace. Position yourself in the luck stream. Place yourself around people because success is like a vice to see how people think and watch what they do sometimes. But if you're around the environment, your brain will be unlocked. Like my brain has been unlocked by being around the right people at the right time and seeing what they do, seeing how they think, their instructions to me and their critique of me, and being open and surrendering to that, and then going, you know what, you're right. Okay, well, let me try this. And there's the face step, like, okay, I'm gonna try this new thing. And what happens if I, and then it succeeds, and then you'll fortify your new mindset. And that's when you go, oh, I've got it. And then you're at this other level. So that's the process of success in action. That's what it looks like. It's clinky, it's clunky.
yeah. And I think that that's a good reminder, right? Like for me, for you, for anyone listening, like I think sometimes I've noticed myself and my students get frustrated because they're like, I know better, but I didn't do better. And it's like there's a very big
Yes.
difference between like knowing and like actively consistently taking action in the direction of the thing
Yes.
that you want every single fucking time.
Yeah, it's much harder to take action than it is to learn because people love learning. I love to learn. I'm like, I know, because it's comfortable and it feels good. But action is really uncomfortable and awkward and embarrassing and humiliating a lot of the time because there's a lot of conflict that can be created from it. And people are afraid
Mm.
of conflict. And so your brain is designed to move away from pain. So if there's going to be awkwardness and humiliation and conflict, why would I want to go there? But that's where the magic happens. So you have to kind of lean into it and be okay with it. But if you have good intention, like if your heart is good and aligned, you have good intention, you can't go wrong. And I think that's what you have to remember. Like you have good intentions for people and you want to over deliver, you're going to always do okay. As someone actually explained that to me, they said, Lloyd, I was crafting this offer for our education business. I was like, I don't know how to do this. Like, what if I don't deliver? And because I want to over deliver, I don't want people to leave my zone and go and say, I didn't get what I wanted. Not that it's always in your control, but so you have this fear. You're like, well, what happens if they don't? And my friend said to me, Lloyd, just craft the offer and whatever it's priced at, I know you will deliver what is needed. You will find a way. And I was like, oh, that's a nice feeling. I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. Thank you. Like, so, you know what I mean? And I was on a call with my students the other day and I said, hey, like, just play with me here for a second. And they're like, okay, we're going to play with you. They're great. I was like, because we're talking about offer creation, because money making is actually about provide giving offers, right? So money
Yeah.
making is offer giving, basically, because offer giving is problem solving and money making stems from problem solving. So I said, look, just humor me for a second. If I, what would you have to receive from me in features and benefits and results for me to charge you $100,000? Just play with me. Just I was using it as a complete example. If I had an offer that said 100,000, things would have to happen? And people were saying, "Oh, I'd have to want to be, I'd have to get around you a lot. I have to be around you." I'm like, I get that. That makes sense because there's a lot of power and proximity, and I have to kind of like know the people who can you connect me to? So network's powerful for them. And then like, well,
Mm.
what are you investing? What business are you buying? How do you think about things? What's your funnel like? Just I want to know it's called inside baseball. Like, what's the inner workings of like your office and how? And I was like, that's cool. And I was, what else? And I said, well, we probably have to go somewhere. I'm like, where are we going? We going to Richard Branson's Necker Island? Like, yeah, we'll go to there. So we're starting to kind of add these amazing pieces to this offer. And eventually I said, okay, well, we've got this, and if you could get that, and if I could do it for you for $100,000, who would pay it? I had a couple of hands go up, up, up. So it it was just an exercise to loosen the grip on your own money ceiling.
Mm.
And what's fascinating is I've got a client. He's one of my first inner circle clients. I've got a one-on-one experience. And the other day I was at lunch with him and I said to him, at the end of lunch, I said, listen, why don't you, I want you to do an exercise. He's like, what? I said, go and ask your current, students what they would have to pay you $50,000. And he said, oh man, that's a good question. And so he went and experimented that evening. And he had a couple of his students fully lean into that and be ready to go. And so I think it's a game. It's a game
Mm.
of like, there are people out there who are willing to pay a lot to get a lot in return. So if you can actually deliver a lot to someone, it's going to be either $1 million experience or change their life, or, as health coaches, like save their life. That is a very important, valuable thing. But because your own money mindset's stuck, you're not allowing them to buy what they really need or what they even want. And so
Yeah.
that it's just an exercise to figure out what really people are prepared to pay for what value they need. And I was stuck there for a long time too.
I love that. I'm absolutely going to use that and ask my students. Well, I think it's fucking great. And I think, like, what if, I end up doing, a quarter of those things and then creating like a next level program. And what if
Course,
all my students could do that as well? And
of
some of
course.
theirs were able to create. I feel like that's unlocked. That's great. I fucking
Yeah.
love that.
Well, if you think about it, like part of the process of money making is business. And business is, again, as I said before, problem solving. So if you think of money making as a problem solving exercise, why would you not just ask simple questions? Like when you have pain and you go to the doctor, what do they do? First, you walk in the
And
doctor's office.
oh, they're like, what happened? Like history, and then
Yeah.
like,
Well, they ask questions. They're,
yeah.
they're diagnosing. So, like, that's one part of trying to figure out, well, how I can provide value to solve your problem and make money is I need to know what your problems are. But then I need to also know, well, what do you really want and what do you actually need? Because I don't know until I ask. You know what I mean? So uh, part of the process of this exercise is to actually get intelligence on what your audience and market actually wants. And I
Mm.
think a lot of people fail to do that. So I mean, when I first started our network marketing business, I would actually ask people, "Hey, we just created our new little website. And would you be open to having a look and giving some feedback?" And so I sent it to a dozen people, and like all 12 of them, well, a lot of them bought the products. So I was actually just asking them, "Can you give me?" And they were going down the website like, "Oh my God, this is amazing. Oh shit, I can get results. Oh, yeah, can I start? Like, can I do this?" I was like, "Yeah." So I was, uh, it's okay to ask your market for feedback and data. This is what people don't do, and I think it's interesting because it's such an easy conversation. I've had conversations where I've done that, and people have joined my program because they
Mm.
see so much value in it, right?
Yeah. And worst case scenario, you find out what's shit about it, change it, and give more
Yeah,
value.
totally. Yeah, like I had coffee on the weekend and with a friend, and I said, "Look, I've got this thing I'm working on. Can you give me some feedback? Can you have a look at it for me?" He's like, "Yeah, for sure." And so and I've got another chat thread. Like, we have this thing with some like really business partners and deep family friend. We're very tied into business together. Um, and it's called the Offer Lab, and we just share things in there about it's what I'm thinking. Can you give me some critique and feedback on it? And you just learn so much by being open to getting feedback. So on the weekend, I shared this with a friend of mine as well, and I asked him for feedback, and it helped craft and shift what I'm trying to achieve here for people. And you have to make sure as a coach you also win, because what happens is if you craft an offer that's underpriced, you actually lose, and your client wins and you lose. And the problem with that is it's unsustainable. So there has to be something whereby if you're trying to make money, you have to solve someone's problem. It has to be great enough and grave enough for them to pay you the money and be excited about solving it. And you have to solve it, but you have to win as well. So it has to be win-win. And I think
Mm.
what's people are struggling at is they don't win-win. They actually get a client wins, but they lose. And then they either get burnt out, or they cook themselves, or they just find business not fun anymore because they're not making enough money. So it doesn't work, doesn't serve you to underprice either.
Mm.
There's a happy medium. And look, you're not going to get it right sometimes. Like I generally underprice when I start things because I want to make sure I over deliver.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great strategy. Prefer to underprice and overprice. And because I think, you have financial security, you can afford to underprice as well and test things and use it as a test, as
Yes.
opposed to like this is the thing that has to make or break
Totally.
my family
Yeah,
income.
totally. Yes. And I think what's really fascinating too, I'm reading this really cool book at the moment. And inside it says, the best time to craft your next offer, and have an ascension to help assist people at every level. Because there's people in my circle that I haven't been serving because I haven't had the offer. And that deserves them and it deserves me. So when I read it, it said, the best time to build something new and innovate your product range or whatever is the moment you don't need it. Because if you have offers that you don't need to be fulfilled, you're not going to come from a place of scarcity and hurriedness, and you can be very thoughtful about it and test things, like you said, and not worry. So that's better for the client, better for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I guess that's a bit of a call out if you're like near full capacity or you don't need more clients, like go and create something
Well, yeah.
to
Well, look at this. We're creating, like, we've just built a brand new book that's taken us, almost, we're in a full year of probably preparation, close to a year of preparations in that. And we'll launch that early next year. It's an 18-month project, and we don't need one. And we
Mm.
also don't have, like this other thing I'm working, we don't have one of those either. We don't need one either. But we're building and we're innovating our products and we're innovating our programs. And when I had a network marketing business, I didn't even need another business. I certainly didn't need to be acquiring a business this week. But why am I doing these things is because you really must understand as a business owner that if you aren't innovating, then you're really dying, because the world it's moving so fast that, like, I don't want to be caught with my pants. Like, I don't want to be caught behind. It's so hard to get in front. So when you're on top and you're feeling on top, ask yourself, what's my next product evolution? So with us, it's like, where's the book? I launched the podcast same way. I didn't need a podcast. I'm like, but I want to do a pod. So it's like the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And so you're building all this goodwill into your business and all this banked development and research and R&D ready to go, so that when you do deploy and you've got it, you're stretching your legs far out in front of your competitors, and making sure you're really capturing the audience's needs in a big way.
Mm.
So yeah.
I really like that.
Build an ark long before it storms, I would say.
Yeah. And I mean, second best time to start, even if you do need it, is now, right? Like just
Of
because you
course.
don't, just because you're not in a place of like, oh, I've got abundance in my life and finances, like still doesn't mean that you can start to build that now.
No, because I had that, and if I had just sat on my laurels, inflation would have smashed me over. Like you just do not know what's around the corner. I think we've all been all of our wealth in the world has been halved in the last 5 years because of high inflation levels. 100,000 is not 100,000 anymore; it's 50. So
Mm,
we understand those things. So if you sit on your laurels, either the competition will eat you, or inflation will. So you can't rest. You can peacefully build, but yeah, just build new stuff when you don't need it, I think.
I like it. One last thing that I would love to finish on that I'm bringing back to our podcast. I'm an action taker, and love helping people take action. So it's not just like, oh, this is a cool podcast we listened to, but did nothing. So if there was one thing that you could impart on anyone who is listening as to something that they can take action on to help them with their wealth, with their money mindset, what would that be?
It's a good question. Look, I think in this day and age too, with money mindset, you develop a better money mindset when you have evidence that you're good with money. So if you're struggling with a money mindset, you've got to put a 90-day action plan in place and start looking at your bank accounts every 2 weeks or every month. Put in some goals, stop spending as much money on things, craft like a nest egg, like an emergency fund over 90 days, do some little micro investing so you're investing, you're putting money away, and then, look to start something where you can make some extra money through one of those apps we spoke about, like looking after pets or start something where you can make extra money outside your job. Now, if you did those things over 90 days, you would have very clear evidence that you're getting better with money. And I think that's important to fortify your money mindset. And if you're someone who wants to really make wealth, the truth is, yes, you can invest, you can buy property, you can buy stocks, whatever. But the reality is, your income is your greatest wealth building tool. And what I've seen over the course of my career and others is that being in a job is just not cutting it anymore. And so it's no longer a choice. I think you've got to be in a business. And I think there's been never a better time than now to start a business and learn social media marketing and learn to do this, and start a business, start small. And because that's going to be the deciding factor whether you're really rich or not, frankly. And so I would really lean into that and explore it properly.
Mm, I love it so much. I feel like needs worth a repeat of that episode to like take everything in, write some shit down. Thank you for spending your time being so time rich now
Yeah.
with me. And I'm sure I'm sure there's times where you're not feeling as time rich, but we'll
Yeah.
pop some links to below in the show notes for your current books that are out, and then I don't know, have you got like a pre-launch page for
I actually
the
don't.
new
We
one?
haven't got to that start yet. It's gone to proofreading at the moment, so we're
Okay.
still a few months off having a book. So, but I'll if you're having me again, I'll come back and talk about time management and stuff one day, and we can maybe
Yeah,
talk.
of course. Would love.
All right, awesome. Well, thank
Beautiful.
you for having me.
My pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your day. One final reminder before you go, coach, join me to uncover those clarity metrics and really unlock some sales to scale your business into whatever that looks like for you to 20K months and beyond. There's some freebies in the show notes as soon as you register that you will get access to. So don't delay, do that right now. And I will see you live and free on that masterclass. I have a tiny favor to ask of you, and that is to just hit that subscribe button if you have not done it yet. If you've made it this far, then I hope that this has been valuable for you and for us to get more incredible guests in front of your earlobes and faces. If you're watching us on YouTube, then please do that now. And if you have any feedback or suggestions for me, or something that was a golden nugget that really stood out to you in this episode, I would absolutely love if you flicked me a message over on Instagram at Xenia Wood Official. Until next episode, and in whatever you do, move swiftly.